On va lancer ça. Et donc je retire. On lancera ça.
En direct, hein.
Ça va, c'est pas grave. Attends, c'est pas-
Good morning, everyone. Please take a seat. We will begin shortly. Okay, good morning, everyone. How are you in this morning? My name is Diaconu Dragoș. I'm the moderator for this event along with Amalia Dumitru and Vasiliki Despinadi. I'm the student board president, and they are also student board members. And we are very grateful for this invitation and this occasion to present and moderate this event. We will begin with welcoming the VIP of this event. Very important, a very important man, Jean-Marc Ogier, who is the chair of EU-CONEXUS Governing Board and also the president of La Rochelle Université. Jean-Marc? Thank you. I think you can present from there.
C'est pour la suivante, okay. Well, good morning, everybody, dear friends. It's a real pleasure to gather the EU-CONEXUS family, because this is a real family that we have now in Europe, all over Europe. So this morning, I will start to give you a kind of overview about all the things that we have been doing for 4 years, for the past 3 years. And during the day, we'll talk about the future of EU-CONEXUS. So just an information about how EU-CONEXUS is structured. As you can see, EU-CONEXUS is composed of 9 partners now. Initially, there were 6, and now we are 9. We have 9 partners. All of them are located on coastal area, and this is a choice that we did to choose 2 partners who are located on coastal areas. And we are trying, since the beginning, to create an inter-university campus. I will be very short because the time is very tight. So this is an overview. You can see on this image, an image of a coast. And all the things that you are seeing around this shows the topics. Of course, it's not exhaustive, but it's a kind of vision of all the things that we have to consider when we try to develop some holistic solutions for the coastal management, for what we call integrated coastal management. Coastal management is a fundamental question, since we have 60% of the population living at less than 100 kilometers of the coast. And we know that these coasts are vulnerable because of the climate change and the rising of the oceans. So some solutions have to be found, and it's absolutely necessary that the university create some solutions, discuss with the territories in order to find some holistic solutions. So the objective of EU-CONEXUS was to see, as you can see on this on the right part of this slide, developing holistic and interdisciplinary research on SMUX. SMUX means Smart Urban Coastal Sustainability. My dream at the beginning was to pool training programs and sharing intellectual richness and complementarities of our other partners, accompanying, as I was just saying before, accompanying the territorial developments and public policies, because we know that the public policies have a lot of difficulties to understand how the coastal areas are going to change in the future because of the rising of the ocean. Developing European citizenship, and I think that the students really enjoy this. Dragos could confirm that probably. And creating, of course, some other aspects. So we worked on with our 9 partners with one thematic focus, which is a smart urban coastal sustainability, 4 university missions, a long-term cooperation strategy. When we started the project in 2018, when I phoned to my friends who are rector and president of universities, I told them, be careful if you jump in with us. This is for a long-term strategy. We really want to have going for a transnational university. And they all said, okay, let's go. So, so this is why we're working now on a legal framework for common activities. And of course, we have, since it's the beginning, we have a multi-layered economic model trying to combine different sources of funding for developing our cooperations. So it's not a huge alliance. As you can see the key numbers. A bit more than 70,000 students, 8,000 staffs, but it's interesting to see from the European point of view that compared to big universities, the spectrum of which the activities, the spectrum of which are quite wide. Having 8,000 staff focused on one topic, which is smart urban coastal sustainability, may make the difference in the long term. So what are the main achievements? If you have a kind of timelines of all the things that have been done since the beginning, of course, I will not give all the details because I don't have the time, but the main thing to see is that during the progress, the creation of this university, we have tried to have a systemic approach, combining both education, research, including new partners, and it's a real pleasure to welcome 3 new partners in our audience, from Rostock, from Cyprus, and from Situ in Ireland. And you can see here that we try to work with professional companies in order to understand what are their needs in terms of skills for the future. We discuss, we worked with PhD summer schools. We have a lot of activities covering a systemic vision of what should be a European university. It was quite simple, taking the idea of what is a university in a member state and transfer it at the European level. So on this slide, you can see the main achievements that we have developed during these 4 years. One of the strongest and probably more symbolic aspect is the sustainable governance and management structures, with the recent creation of an association, the name of which is EU-CONEXUS. CONEXUS is an international association, non-profit association, thank you, Isabella, under the Belgian law. And this object is the symbol of the fact that we want to work together to have a strength of support, transversal support, showing that we really want to have a long-term collaboration. Here you have some examples of the things that we have been doing. I don't know if it's right. Oops, sorry. Some joint minor programs. You know, in the heart of EU-CONEXUS, there is the idea of interdisciplinarity. We know that when we want to solve a societal challenge today, technical solutions are interesting, but we cannot find a good solution without integrating human and social sciences. So since the beginning, starting from the bachelor, going to the master and to PhD, the philosophy is all the time to keep the idea to have interdisciplinary based approach. So we started with some joint minor programs, integrating blended mobility on some kinds of object that could gather some students coming from different disciplines. It was on sustainable tourism, it was on blue growth, different things like this. So job shadowing is also very interesting. Job shadowing consists in taking any kind of staff in a university and going to see how his work or her work is performed in another university, cross the culture in terms of work in the university. Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Program. This is probably the future and the thing that we should do and continue on in the future. This is a Erasmus Mundus Joint Master Program that we have just started now, which was successful last year. And we have, I don't remember how many students, Anna, how many students? 27 coming from all over the world, which are registered for this joint master program. One thing which is also difficult is, as you remember, there are several thousands of researchers in this alliance. So and we could see the heterogeneity of the organization of the research in each country. And the thing that we had to do at the beginning is to make a kind of state-of-the-art of how the research is organized in each university, what are the topics which are considered, and try to see how to organize the research regarding the objective related to the SMACs, to the Smart Urban Coastal Sustainability. So we have created some joint research institutes, we have 4 research institutes which are dedicated to a particular problem. And the aim is to make them collaborate together to solve the holistic questions of smart urban coastal sustainability. Research mobilities, joint projects, co-tutel de thèse have been organized. So now we have some research collaborations which have been started. Skills map. This is something that I discussed just before. Many people don't know what will be the jobs in 10 years. So it's very important to discuss with the professional companies, the local authorities to understand what will be the needs for the future, and to see how a university can anticipate and create some new curriculum. It's time, no? To anticipate and to create some training programs adapted to these future needs. Of course, this cannot be done without a digital learning environment, which was also a topic for us. And one thing which was very nice also, and we can see some very young students here, the International School Contest that was aiming at creating a contest between different teams all over Europe on what we were calling Think Smart, Create Dreams. And there was a competition between those students, and we have very nice presentation. And today we will have the opportunity to honor them. So this is my last slide. I would like to warmly thank all the management board under the lead of Isabelle Aber, but all the people in all the universities all over Europe. Without you, we couldn't be here today. You can be proud of the things that we have been doing together. And of course, thank you so much for the governing board, because as I was saying to Vanessa just before, that there is really a shared vision, totally aligned vision concerning what should be EU-CONEXUS in the long term, both on education, research, innovation, culture development, and all these things. So thank you to all of you. I hope we could continue in the long term, and we hope that both our member states and the European Commission will continue to support us. So today, is it me to say that? Yes. The program of the day for this forum we'll start by welcoming Vanessa de Bies-Sainton. She will say a few words, and she will be introduced by Blagros. We will have two keynotes. So initially, it was by Alain Beretz and the Commissioner Sinkevičius, but we have had a little problem. So today, it will be replaced. He will be replaced by his head of cabinet. Two roundtables for discussing about the University of the Futures, and award ceremony for we will see a bit later that. And at the end of the day, we will talk about the future, and I will come back to discuss with Isabella about what kind of things should be done in the future. And at the end, of course, we have a good moment all together with a cocktail. Thank you, Dragos.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jean-Marc. It was really great to have you on board with this, and we are very glad to have you also for at least 2 more years. Okay, now I would like to welcome Vanessa de Bies-Sainton, Head of Unit in charge of Higher Education Policies and Program at the European Commission Directorate General for Education, Youth, Sport and Culture. She and her team have also accompanied each step of EU-CONEXUS in the development of the pilot phase over these last 3 years. Vanessa?
Thank you very much. Well, thanks a lot. It's a real pleasure to be with all of you today. Last time I was there in this room, it was with the board of EU-CONEXUS. And now I'm very, very happy to see so many of you and so many students involved in EU-CONEXUS. And I want to tell you, you did the right choice. You will not regret it. As you have seen, you are in the University of the Future. And last time we discussed with the board, the board members asked me, but okay, it's great. We have a clear vision for our alliance, for our European university, but what about a global vision for all these alliances? What do we want to achieve all together? And this is what we have been working together with the entire higher education community, not only for the European universities, but for the entire higher education system across Europe. And we have presented a European strategy for universities earlier this year, which has been endorsed by the Council, by all the member states in Council conclusions under the French presidency. And there are 4 key objectives with this strategy. The first one is to reinforce a deeper cooperation between higher education institutions across Europe. And of course, European universities like EU-CONEXUS are definitely pioneering on this front, a deeper cooperation, because we've seen with the multiple crises that we are facing, not only the pandemic that you mentioned, Jean-Marc, but we have a war, an energy crisis, and a green digital transition, and so on and so forth. And that is why universities are absolutely key. And you see that the presence of a commissioner shows how much universities are important for our political agenda and because of all the geopolitical situation in Europe and in the world. So European universities, yes, you are really pioneering, and this initiative is a key priority at the highest political level, but also at the level of the member states, which are ready to invest and to support this initiative. The second objective of this European strategy for universities is to promote common European values, common academic values. And we see these days that they are more and more put at risk, not only outside Europe, but also within Europe. And here it's really, really important that, that we can not only promote these values, but also protect them. And that's the second objective, to build both excellent and inclusive higher education institutions. The third objective is to equip you, the students, but also lifelong learners, with the green and digital skills that our world needs for the future. And all this will make your universities, your higher education institutions, more competitive and more attractive on a worldwide scene. So that is for the common strategy. Now, when we discussed with the board, you said, okay, it's good, okay, we have a strategy, now a common strategy, but now we want it to be a catalyst for change. Because you shared with me that it's great, this initiative, all the enthusiasm that it is putting together, and I'm super happy to see that the enthusiasm is still there by discussing with you this morning, but it's also important that it can be a catalyst for change, especially in the national legislations, because you shared with me that putting together joint educational activities with such different legislations across your countries can be extremely challenging. And that is why we have been working on that, presenting a council recommendation for deeper cooperation between higher education institutions. And we're very happy that this council recommendation has been adopted by the council. So I don't know for the students if a council recommendation really speaks to you, but that's actually the instrument that we have at European level to facilitate transnational cooperation between all the different ministries of the member states. And that is very important because here there are very important recommendations for the ministries when it comes to allowing more flexibility for the universities when developing joint education activities, be it when it comes to the percentage of language learning, the proportion of digital education, when it comes to how to accredit these programs. So we have asked the member states to allow you to be able to create and to innovate beyond the boundaries of each national legislation. So I know that it's moving. There are some Spanish colleagues in the room. The Spanish ministry adopted a new law. You confirm? Yeah, very good. That should allow you to be more innovative and creative. And I know that other countries are also working to develop their national legislations to facilitate this operation for all of you. So I was very happy to hear that some shared with me that it's moving much faster than the way it has been moving the past 20 years of the Bologna process. So I think it's extremely positive, and it is thanks to all of you and to all your enthusiasm, because I know that not only you, the universities, but also you, the students, are also putting a lot of pressure or are lobbying in a positive sense to your ministries and your ministers to get the things moving. And I think this is also another way where your European University and where EU-CONEXUS can really be a pioneer for the future of higher education. Now, what's next? What's next is that we are working towards a joint European degree. Why? Because Jean-Marc presented a moment ago all the fantastic things that you're going to learn, you, the students, as part of your studies in EU-CONEXUS. This challenge-based approach, this transnational campus, where you're going to be able to learn how to work in transdisciplinary teams on various challenges, and especially the one of the coastal area. And this is exactly what the employers are looking for. All the skills that you're going to gain is especially what they are looking for. And with this joint European degree, that we aim at developing, especially to give you, if you want a label, a diploma that you can show to the employers, look, I have the skills that you need. Of course, this is going to take time because awarding a degree is a national competence. It's not the Commission that can deliver you the degree. But what is important is that there is a wish to go in that direction. And I'm very happy that we have received a good number of applications to a pilot that we have launched to be able to work in that direction. And we'll start with a label that can then one day become a joint European degree. And the second point on which we are working, and you mentioned, Jean-Marc, you have established a common legal status for your European university. We have been approached by a number of alliances to bring forward or to work on a European instrument. So we will also explore that. And we're going to work on two next initiatives. One is to facilitate the careers of academics and to value much more all the teaching activities, the development of innovative pedagogies that they are doing in your alliances so that it is as valued as their research activities. So we will submit a proposal by the end of this year. And the second one is about quality assurance. It doesn't look like a sexy topic, but I can tell you it's very important. And here we have a European approach to ensure quality assurance of joint programs, but we've seen that it has not been really implemented on the ground, and maybe because it is not fit for purpose anymore. Now what we need is a European approach for quality assurance of alliances like yours. And this is what we would like to work on so that, any joint programs or any joint activity that you will develop, you will not have to bother and get the approval of all the countries involved, but that we have a European approach to that. So that is what we are working towards. So as you can see, we are pioneering higher education together with you, together with EU-CONEXUS. And I wish you a fruitful conference today, and we will definitely continue working together. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Vanessa. And please remain on stage for a little gift. Okay, and I would like to invite Jean-Marc Augier to give you some documents and explain us what are those documents and why are they so important.
So, Vanessa, it's very simple. It's a roadmap on creating a sustainable governance and cooperation structure for European Alliance. So this narrates our story of the things that we've been meeting during the 4 years, the obstacles, how we manage the different things, and some kind of recommendation for the future that you can access this with the QR code, and all documents can do all this. This is thanks to, this is not because of me. So thank you for please read this, and this may help you for the future. And thank you for your support.
And now I would like to invite my colleague Amalia Dumitru to present you the next phase. And I would like to inform you that we would kindly ask you not to forget to share these moments of these events while on Instagram using EU-CONEXUS as a tagging. And also all the questions for the forum can be asked through YouTube channel, YouTube chat, because this forum is broadcast in EU-CONEXUS European University YouTube channel. Thank you, Amalia.
Unfortunately, we cannot welcome Ellen Beretz, the chair of EU-CONEXUS External Advisory Board, and also the president of the European Cooperation of Science and Technology, a founding organization for research and network innovations. Ellen is also the former president of the University of Strasbourg and also the former advisor for the French government for the European universities. However, Ellen has given us the recording of his keynote, Is EU-CONEXUS the University of the Future? And I'm kindly inviting you to watch it together.
Hello, dear colleagues.
I'm really sorry not to be with you due to unforeseen circumstances, but I will try in a nutshell to give you a few thoughts that I thought I could discuss with you in person. And I will ask for the slides. Maybe you can manage this on site. My first section of what I wanted to say is clearly to come with questions, not with answers. That's slide number 2. And those questions come back to the title that Isabella proposed to me for this very short introductory talk. The issue was, first, EU-CONEXUS, the university of the future. But you can tell it very different ways. First, you affirmative way. EU-CONEXUS is the university of the future. But you can also ask a question. By the way, I prefer asking the question, is EU-CONEXUS the university of the future? But you can also take into account the multiplicity of universities by saying, is EU-CONEXUS one of the universities of the future? But all of this asks another question, which I think nobody really asks. What is the university of the future? And to come back to the plural, what are the universities of the future? Of course, I don't intend to answer all those questions, and I guess you won't be able to answer them quickly, but you have to keep those questions in mind. On the next slide, number 4, this is a reminder of something I told you in a previous session, but I think it's still very valid. The goals of EU-CONEXUS are varied. You have to build a new institution, you should build a new project, you should develop a common spirit, and you should create a common identity. However, strategies and goals for each of those objectives are not always the same. And sometimes, including from our authorities, we have a mix-up of all those questions in a soup that really has no flavor, if you see what I mean. On the next slide, number 5, I also want to point out another question. We are still in all the questions. When you ask those questions, do they apply to all universities? What is a university of the future? It applies to my own university, University of Strasbourg. I don't need European universities to ask this question. Are there some answers which are specific to European universities? And finally, are there some answers which are specific to EU-CONEXUS? So you have to ask the right question to the right entity. On slide number 6, those questions can be asked and answered by several stakeholders. Within EU-CONEXUS, you have the individual universities, which are very important, and you have the global identity of EU-CONEXUS. And with public stakeholders, if to put it shortly, it's either funders or legislators or both. You have the EU, of course, but not only the EU. Don't make this issue just an EU issue. It's also an issue for member states. And so you can devise on slide number 7, relationships are essential between EU-CONEXUS and public stakeholders, but within EU-CONEXUS between individual universities and the central organization, but also, and I don't feel it very active at the moment, between the EU and the member states on this issue. Finally, in these questions, there is the issue of evaluation, and that's on slide number 8. You need evaluation, internally, externally, because we are scientists. I mean, we know that we cannot perform any task without being evaluated one way or another. By whom? Internally first. Internally, by our own colleagues, by students, by the personnel, etc. And externally, by all our stakeholders, the cities, the governments, the EU, but also the industry, and last but not least, the public. Which image do we cast to the public? Which evaluation do they make of our activity? I think that's quite important. And finally, the evaluation by peers, other universities, committees. I mean, we are in most of our countries evaluated by our peers as universities. I think this system has to be done also in probably for European universities. And what are the proxies? What are the milestones that are evaluated by those procedures? Well, you have at least two types of milestones. One are concrete milestones, achievements, KPIs, if you want to speak the jargon, and that's very important. And but you also have the image. What the image internally, the image externally, the identity, call it whatever you want, and that's also very, very important. Now, maybe we'll switch to another chapter on slide number 9. That's the weaknesses and the threats. I have tried to look over your documents, maybe not in very much detail, but especially to the interim evaluation by the EU and also by your own SWOT analysis that was in your last document number 12. And I really wanted to concentrate on the threats and the weaknesses more than on the achievements. Don't take me wrong. I think, let me put it first. I mean, you did a fantastic job and your achievements are great. But as a scientist, you know, I always want to look at the bad points to correct them. So I will emphasize the bad points, which doesn't mean this is my only view, right? But in 10 minutes, I really couldn't do more. So on slide 10, I insist a little bit on the weaknesses, or this is a very subjective list of things that I have found or I have thought about reading your papers. One weakness is the lack of penetration in the universities of the idea of EU-CONEXUS that sometimes belongs to an elite, but not to the whole university. A general complaint about the lack, of full-time staff to achieve your objectives. Sometimes also a lack of staff commitment, and very interesting, although it might look a little bit accessory, the low alumni culture. I think this is a very interesting point, because it might show that the appropriation of the global identity of EU-CONEXUS within the community is still not mature. Those are, I would say, the main weaknesses that you might want to correct. The threats are more from the outside, and sometimes you have a little bit mixed up threats and weaknesses, but that's not a big issue. You have the instability of governance structures, the changing of leaders, and the variability, which is quite normal in universities, but it doesn't help to have a stable outlook on the for EU-CONEXUS. The heterogeneity of involvement between the member universities, the lack of intergovernmental coordination, and also the impediments derivating from national legislative differences, major differences between national regulations. And last but not least, the insufficient funding or insufficient direct funding for the costs induced in a European university. Now, to try to conclude this very short introduction, I want to point some future directions, and those will be in slide number 13. The first thing I might want to have you think of is diversity of funding. The EU provides funding at the moment from Erasmus+, and this is very good, and the amounts are really interesting, but it's Erasmus+, so it really puts you in a box. What about Horizon Europe? What about when you're speaking about geographical balance, what about the widening funds? What about structural funds for the same issue? So that's for EU. And from national sources, I must say, I don't always put France on top, but France and Germany have played the game and were there to put €1 for €1 that the EU was putting in the European university. I think it's very important that all member states, well, maybe not do exactly the same, but at least really cash in, because otherwise it cannot be just an issue of the EU, because right now and for a long time still, your universities are essentially funded by the member state. So I think that's quite important. Second type of future directions are on slide number 14. Sometimes all those issues about European universities have gone into a lot of detail. And I would really encourage you not to forget, the fundamentals: basic academic values, introduction of innovative methods, and also the emphasis on international span. And finally, on slide number 15, maybe a word of caution. I hope you can read the little cartoon. You should always try to balance your ambitions that should remain very high and the feasibility of those ambitions. I think that's very important. And also, this is valid for EU-CONEXUS, but I must say, maybe in the presence of some Commission officials, this is also important for the Commission and for the member states. Don't ask from the universities what they cannot deliver because they don't have the means to do it. And for the last slide, number 16, thank you again for your attention. I'm really very sorry not to be with you. And I really want to conclude by congratulating EU-CONEXUS, the whole team, Jean-Marc and all his team, for a wonderful achievement. I really, I'm not saying this just to please you. I think you're doing a great job, and that's why I encourage you to progress even more. I hope I see you in person very soon. Bye-bye. Hello, dear colleagues. I'm really sorry not to be with you.
In the following, after this very interesting insight, I am very glad to tell you that it's movie time for the documentary EU-CONEXUS in the Making. The documentary has been prepared by Diego Jarac, La Rochelle Université Vice President and Interdisciplinarity, and Clément Mauduit, Multimedia Assistant Coordinator. The documentary relates the creation and implementation of EU-CONEXUS over the last 3 years. And as you will see, the creation of the first European university involves issues that go well beyond a simple project or its implementation. And I'm also very excited to tell you that it's a premiere. So watch and enjoy.
Cooperation between universities.
Another important idea behind the European University project is to develop this sense of belonging to Europe. The aim is to give young people the means to identify The story we're about to tell you has no real beginning. It's the start of what could be tomorrow. For decades, it has been lingering in the minds of teachers, researchers, leaders, politicians, students. But today, it's coming to life. And like many good stories, ours emerges with a trigger. A climate of fear and division is taking hold in Europe and the West. On the 23rd of June 2016, British referendum stuns Europe.
The British people have voted to leave the European Union.
On the other side of the Atlantic is the election of an extremist figure that shakes the world. In response to this growing division, Europe decided to forge closer ties. So on 26th of September 2017, at La Sorbonne University, the President of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron, announced
Je propose la création d'universités européennes qui seront un réseau.
In December 2017, the European universities were launched. The first call for projects led to the creation of 17 alliances. To understand the creation and development of these universities, let us focus on one of these alliances, even before the project started.
Ok, on a envie de répondre à cette ambition-là, mais comment ça peut être cohérent? Comment ça peut s'inscrire dans le projet de l'université, qui lui-même est assez ambitieux, structurant? Comment on peut répondre aussi à la complexité que ça embarque de créer une université européenne, et puis avec qui surtout?
We received a call from Jean-Marc Augier from La Rochelle University. explaining the idea of EU-CONEXUS, and I was very much impressed about let's say, the connection with two very important issues that European Union is handling. I mean the blue growth and the blue economy.
El origen de este proyecto viene de una relación anterior entre La Rochelle, la Universidad Católica de Valencia y otras universidades para crear un máster conjunto en biotecnología azul. Nos presentamos a una convocatoria europea, la ganamos para diseñar este máster y desde entonces hay una relación muy estrecha entre profesores y estudiantes de las dos universidades.
And there was an invitation by La Rochelle University to my colleague Helen Miliu, who is a specialist in aquaculture, and she told me whether we would be interested as a university to get involved in this. Of course, I responded enthusiastically. So, as they say, the rest is history. So we applied the proposal together with La Rochelle and the rest of the founding universities. We're very fortunate to have the proposal accepted. And then we started this wonderful journey into building this new type of university, pan-European university.
The preparation of the project was very intensive, very pleasant experience. It was hard work, but really a great team from all universities. And we finished the project, we submitted the project and crossed our fingers like anybody else. But from the very beginning of this adventure, we said, okay, we are applying for EU universities project, but we are going anywhere to build something together with or without officially becoming European university.
EU-CONEXUS focused on smart urban coastal territories. It was very close to our activities and to our study programs, and therefore we wanted to be a part of this alliance.
An ambitious project that initially involved 6 universities from 6 different countries. But what is EU-CONEXUS? What is its purpose?
Les enjeux de la création de ces universités, ils sont assez clairs au départ. Le premier, c'est d'augmenter la qualité de la construction européenne en passant par les universités. Et ça, c'est logique, parce que c'est la jeunesse et c'est le savoir, et c'est de dire on construit l'Europe sur la jeunesse et le savoir. Et puis, il y a aussi un but peut-être un peu plus opérationnel, c'est d'augmenter la compétitivité et de nos universités, d'augmenter la visibilité de nos universités européennes dans le monde. Ça, c'est les deux buts, j'allais dire, théoriques, stratégiques. Derrière, il y a un certain nombre de buts beaucoup plus pratiques pour arriver à ces objectifs.
Il ne s'agit pas forcément de créer des universités thématiques, mais La Rochelle Université a choisi de se baser sur ce qu'elle a comme projet d'établissement, de créer un programme d'études interdisciplinaires concentré sur le littoral urbain, développement intelligent, et à partir de ça, construire un programme d'université transnationale européenne.
Creating a university from scratch is obviously a challenge for everyone.
À l'intérieur du ministère, ça a beaucoup bousculé. Et évidemment, on en est ravis. Ça a beaucoup bousculé parce que nous-mêmes, on ne savait pas vraiment ce qu'était une université européenne. Mais là, ça y est, les services s'en sont tout à fait emparés. La ministre, évidemment, est très en pointe sur ce sujet et le défend ardemment. Et on voit bien quand même que, comme au sein des universités, ce label-là, qui nous a tous un peu surpris par l'ampleur, par l'engouement, par l'enthousiasme vraiment des acteurs qui le portent, etc., eh bien, ça a infusé à la fois dans les établissements et au sein du ministère. Et vraiment aujourd'hui, je le vois moi dans tous mes services, entre guillemets, chacun se dit, ok, on a un diplôme là, mais ça veut dire quoi un diplôme demain à l'échelle européenne? Ok, on a une mobilité là, mais qu'est-ce que ça veut dire demain une mobilité au sein d'une université européenne? Donc il y a des tas de définitions, des tas de curseurs qui bougent, même au sein du ministère évidemment.
This project is an opportunity to change things for students. especially with one of the most important aspects, mobility.
Bien, eh bien les enjeux, pour parler simplement, c'est vraiment d'augmenter la mobilité étudiante et enseignante d'ailleurs. Je crois qu'il y a un objectif qui est exprimé, qui est d'aller jusqu'à 50% de mobilité pour les étudiants, ce qui est considérable par rapport à ce qui se passe en ce moment, où on est en dessous de 10%, même en dessous de 5% pour la mobilité en séjour d'études.
Llegar a los estudiantes no ha sido fácil. Ha habido un grupo de estudiantes que enseguida ha captado el interés de este proyecto, pero para otros estudiantes, principalmente de otras facultades, ha sido más complejo. Entonces estamos en un proceso de intentar llegar al mayor número de estudiantes de todas las facultades de la universidad. Lo estamos creando, pero es uno de los retos de nuestro proyecto, implicar al mayor número posible de estudiantes.
And the more I go, the more I'm convinced that this is indeed the tool to transform the university and international cooperation between the universities, and that it could be something bigger that has never existed before.
The objectives are written down, and the people who are assigned to the development have grasped the project. It's time for one of the first European universities to take off and develop. This is not without the arrival of a disruptive element, and not the least when one of the main objectives is mobility, a global pandemic.
On devait se rencontrer en fait en mars 2021 à Zadar, puisqu'il y avait un festival qui était organisé. Et la pandémie est arrivée. Ce qui a mis un frein à toutes nos activités, mais aussi aux liens qu'on aurait pu développer entre nous. Et du coup, ça a vraiment freiné les activités du projet, puisqu'on a dû réapprendre à s'organiser différemment, à travailler aussi à distance, qu'on faisait déjà, mais là, on savait que c'était de manière pérenne, on ne savait pas quand ça allait s'arrêter. Et ça a vraiment mis un coup d'arrêt aux activités en physique aussi, au fait que les communautés se rencontrent, que les gens se rencontrent, dialoguent. Et ça, vraiment, on a ressenti sur les mois d'après l'impact de la pandémie, surtout qu'on ne savait pas quand on allait pouvoir voyager à nouveau.
Yo creo de verdad que COVID-19, la pandemia, nos ha ayudado a explotar medios que estaban a nuestra disposición, pero todavía no estábamos explotando bien. Inicialmente no pensábamos que nos podríamos reunir, el Consejo Académico, una vez al mes. Pensábamos que sería cada más tiempo. Sin embargo, al pasar al formato virtual, nuestro trabajo ha sido mucho más regular, el seguimiento de objetivos mucho más fácil. Entonces, realmente ahora empezamos esta nueva fase, no vamos a dejar atrás la interacción virtual. Vamos a vernos una vez al mes y algunas de estas reuniones serán presenciales. Y de esta forma pensamos que vamos a poder cumplir tanto objetivos a corto plazo o deliverables que están en el proyecto, como también crecer en nuestra visión conjunta a largo plazo como alianza de universidades.
Even in this situation, you have to move forward. EU-CONEXUS is a thematic university oriented towards the smart urban coastal sustainability. How was it possible to link the environment and mobility when most possible travel is by air?
We are working on a future green Erasmus program to give the opportunity to the students to travel by train instead of plane. We want to work as well with all the education organizations and institutions to become greener, so that sustainable development becomes part of their strategy, but also that they train the young people and the future generations on how to act on climate protection as well. So we try to act really at these different levels, at European level, national level, institutional level, and the student level.
Also, the idea of EU-CONEXUS particularly is sustainability. So maybe inside the alliance itself, we could think of and maybe offer some new solutions that would go align with this need to reduce all this catastrophic, let's say, unfortunately, it is our reality now. So maybe to find a kind of solution to offer some kind of combination of old and new technologies and all and old and new way of mobility and of cooperation between universities.
Another important idea behind the European University project is to develop this sense of belonging to Europe. The aim is to give young people the means to identify with this union for the sharing of knowledge, cultures, exchanges.
This specific initiative it strengthens these alliances, these links between different countries, and we feel more kind of connected. So I think that's very important.
It will be hard work, but interesting, and it will be our investment into our future.
Construire une université européenne, c'est un grand défi, un défi passionnant. C'est une opportunité énorme que de créer un nouvel écosystème académique au niveau européen avec des enjeux liés à la citoyenneté européenne, des enjeux liés au rayonnement scientifique européen, des enjeux liés au lien entre science et société. Évidemment, les obstacles sont nombreux, mais ça en vaut la peine. Les obstacles se sont liés au fait que l'université doit davantage s'ouvrir sur le monde, sur ses territoires, discuter avec la gouvernance des territoires. L'université doit aussi changer ses modes de fonctionnement et sortir des silos disciplinaires dans lesquels elle est ancrée depuis des siècles. Mais on sent que la réponse à ces grands défis sociétaux ne passe que par là. Et on sent par ailleurs que culturellement, les chercheurs commencent à être enclins à embrasser ces grands défis sociétaux dans une version décloisonnée, ouverte entre eux, entre scientifiques, et ouverte sur la société. Donc, on peut croire à la réussite d'un tel exercice.
For this little issue, but we will go back and watch what we couldn't watch.
Is something bigger that has never existed before.
The objectives are written down, and the people who are assigned to the development have grasped the project. It's time for one of the first European universities to take off and develop. This is not without the arrival of a disruptive element, and not the least when one of the main objectives is mobility, a global pandemic.
On devait se rencontrer en fait en mars 2021 à Zadar, puisqu'il y avait un festival qui était organisé. Et la pandémie est arrivée. Ce qui a mis un frein à toutes nos activités, mais aussi aux liens qu'on aurait pu développer entre nous. Et du coup, ça a vraiment freiné les activités du projet, puisqu'on a dû réapprendre à s'organiser différemment, à travailler aussi à distance, qu'on faisait déjà, mais là, on savait que c'était de manière pérenne, on ne savait pas quand ça allait s'arrêter. Et ça a vraiment mis un coup d'arrêt aux activités en physique aussi, au fait que les communautés se rencontrent, que les gens se rencontrent, dialoguent. Et ça, vraiment, on a ressenti sur les mois d'après l'impact de la pandémie, surtout qu'on ne savait pas quand on allait pouvoir voyager à nouveau.
Yo creo de verdad que COVID-19, la pandemia, nos ha ayudado a explotar medios que estaban a nuestra disposición, pero todavía no estábamos explotando bien. Inicialmente no pensábamos que nos podríamos reunir, el Consejo Académico, una vez al mes. Pensábamos que sería cada más tiempo. Sin embargo, al pasar al formato virtual, nuestro trabajo ha sido mucho más regular, el seguimiento de objetivos mucho más fácil. Entonces, realmente ahora empezamos esta nueva fase, no vamos a dejar atrás la interacción virtual. Vamos a vernos una vez al mes y algunas de estas reuniones serán presenciales. Y de esta forma pensamos que vamos a poder cumplir tanto objetivos a corto plazo o deliverables que están en el proyecto, como también crecer en nuestra visión conjunta a largo plazo como alianza de universidades.
Even in this situation, you have to move forward. EU-CONEXUS is a thematic university oriented towards the smart urban coastal sustainability. How is it possible to link the environment and mobility when most possible travel is by air?
And we are working on a future green Erasmus program to give the opportunity to the students to travel by train instead of plane, We want to work as well with all the education organization and institutions to become greener, to become so that sustainable development becomes part of their strategy, but also that they train the young people and the future generations on how to act on climate protection as well. So we try to act really at these different levels, at European level, national level, institutional level, and the student level.
Also, the idea of EU-CONEXUS particularly is sustainability. So maybe inside the alliance itself, we could think of and maybe offer some new solutions that would go align with this need to reduce all this catastrophic, let's say, unfortunately, it is our reality now. So maybe to find a kind of solution to offer some kind of combination of old and new technologies and old and new way of mobility and of cooperation between universities.
Another important idea behind the European University project is to develop this sense of belonging to Europe. The aim is to give young people the means to identify with this union for the sharing of knowledge, cultures, exchanges.
This specific initiative it strengthens these alliances, these links between different countries, and we feel more kind of connected. So I think that's very important.
It will be hard work, but interesting, and it will be our investment into our future.
Construire une université européenne, c'est un grand défi, un défi passionnant. C'est une opportunité énorme que de créer un nouvel écosystème académique au niveau européen avec des enjeux liés à la citoyenneté européenne, des enjeux liés au rayonnement scientifique européen, des enjeux liés au lien entre science et société. Évidemment, les obstacles sont nombreux, mais ça en vaut la peine. Les obstacles sont liés au fait que l'université doit davantage s'ouvrir sur le monde, sur ses territoires, discuter avec la gouvernance des territoires. L'université doit aussi changer ses modes de fonctionnement et sortir des silos disciplinaires dans lesquels elle est ancrée depuis des siècles. Mais on sent que la réponse à ces grands défis sociétaux ne passe que par là. Et on sent par ailleurs que culturellement, les chercheurs commencent à être enclins à embrasser ces grands défis sociétaux dans une version décloisonnée, ouverte entre eux, entre scientifiques, et ouverte sur la société. Donc on peut croire à la réussite d'un tel exercice.
Okay. The volume, a little bit. Okay, guys, please take a seat. We will begin shortly. How are you? How was the coffee? I am still waiting for everybody to sit and we can begin. Okay, so hello again, everybody. I would like to begin with the roundtable education for a sustainable development of democratic societies. And for this, I would like to kindly invite the roundtable moderators, Slaven Zjalic, who is the Vice Rector for Interinstitutional Cooperation and Technology Transfer at the University of Zadar, along with Neringa Narbutiene, Project Manager at UCB. Please. Thank you. They will introduce the speakers. I can borrow you this or? Oh, okay, okay.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to see so many of you. And I know that dozens are watching us on YouTube today. And we are starting the first roundtable about the impact that we have done in the education. For this conversation, I would like to invite Ana de Luis, my colleague from Catholic University of Valencia in Spain. Anna was chairing academic council and still is chairing academic council and brings all the innovation together with the colleagues to education offer of EU-CONEXUS. Adrian Courage. The member of EU-CONEXUS External Advisory Board and a part of its scientific committee. Adrian Courage currently is the General Director of Research Agency in Romania, but also he has huge experience in the management of education as the former Minister of Education in 2015-16. Also a professor at Polytechnic University of Bucharest. Welcome. Vasiliki Despiniadi, the student of Agricultural University of Athens and the student of EU-CONEXUS. Within 2 years, Vasiliki graduated EU-CONEXUS minor program, and here she came here to talk about her experience. Welcome. No. And online, right? We have Jan Harhuis. Hello. Our colleague from another European Universities Alliance, Charm EU, educationalist and the teacher of mathematics and physics at Utrecht University. Jan is leading Charm EU work package of teaching and learning strategies and has contributed a lot in the development of educational offer at our partner European University Alliance. Welcome.
My mic? Okay. Good morning, everybody.
Welcome to this roundtable. We have heard a lot this morning till now about European universities, about challenges and what in some way we were meant to do. About professions that will disappear, about new professions that will appear, and for a lot of them we don't know neither what they will be or what really will be needed. So it put a great challenge in front of education, because we have to adapt our programs and we have to be able to do it very quickly and to respond to societal needs, to needs of economy, stakeholders, very quickly and very efficiently. Therefore, also, this was one of the important tasks of European university alliances. With our guests today, we will talk about how those tasks were approached, how those tasks were managed in each of our alliances, and then in the end, what are our recommendations for the future and how we see our future development in educational sector. I will start with the first question to our colleagues from alliances who are leading our educational offers developed in this first pilot phase. And the approaches were not the same. This was also one of the important things in European alliances, that we all had to search our ways to propose solutions. So in EU-CONEXUS, we managed to offer some new study programs on all levels, or at least some activities on all three levels, and Charm-EU based more, as far as I know, on a joint master program. So I would like to hear from our panelists what was the approach, how this was realized, and how this was aligned with the needs posted in front of us from the society, and how this helps us to align much more with the societal needs. So please, Anna.
Thank you very much. The microphone on? Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Slaven. So from our experience from EU-CONEXUS, we really tried, as Slaven was saying, to align with the needs of the society, to generate study programs at different levels, to cover from bachelor to master to PhD levels. And regarding the bachelor level, we were able to obtain or generate these two minor programs in Blue Economy and Growth, and Coastal Development and Sustainable Maritime Tourism. And the idea for these programs was to offer the students the option to explore in an interdisciplinary way, to complement their curriculum, and to be able in an initial phase of their careers to prepare themselves to address interdisciplinary challenges that our society is encountering now, in the case of EU-CONEXUS related to smart urban coastal sustainability. At the master's level, our objective was really to create our first joint program with a joint diploma, in a way that we could really feel that we were developing an academic program or product that was really joint from all of the members. So remembering what Vanessa de Viesanton was mentioning this morning about the different objectives of the European universities, this joint master was aligning more to this deeper cooperation between institutions. And of course, to the development of this program, we also ask our stakeholders at a very initial level phase of the of the collaboration to see what were the contents or the curriculum that were needed for these stakeholders. And then at the PhD level, we will might be discussing later, but we encountered some important legal challenges that made it not impossible to do a joint program so far. It is in our objective for a midterm, but what we've done is to generate a series of activities, of joint activities, for example, summer schools, so that students at the PhD level are also able to enrich themselves and their professional education with activities, international, intercultural, scientific activities that are, we think that they're going to be very good for the career prospects in the short term. So as a summary of what we're
doing. Can we now hear from Jan Harhuis how Charm EU affronted this problem, this challenge, not problem?
Yes, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Unfortunately, due to COVID, I'm not able to participate on site with you together. So therefore, I have happy enough to have the possibility to be online. Charm EU stands for Challenge-Driven, Accessible, Research-Based Mobile European University. And where we started with was developing a new university with new educational concepts based on sustainability, challenge-driven, inclusivity, transnational and intercultural learning, situated and authentic learning, all kind of aspects where students learn about sustainable development goals and what's needed for the future of new jobs in the labor market. And building this new university based on new didactic concepts, we also worked on a master program to pilot our educational concept. And that started last year in September. And we started with 70 students in a joint degree accredited master program, where all students will receive a diploma from all of our 5 universities. So it's a European joint degree master program. But the most important part is that we developed from scratch something new in a very transdisciplinary way, where we used the knowledge creating teams, teachers and researchers from all kinds of different disciplines working together to develop modules and develop this master program together. And that was quite a huge effort. But we succeeded in this challenge. And the students, however, they experienced this new university for the first time. They were all very enthusiastic about the way we developed this master concept. Okay, thank you.
Charm EU Master is rather directly related to sustainability. One of the interdisciplinary pillars is sustainability. EU-CONEXUS Master and minor programs are related to sustainability, considers these aspects in the master programs. Adrian, the question to you, as the external advisory board member, what sustainability from your point of view plays in education, or what sustainability should play in education?
Thank you so much. I'm very pleased to be here, and every time is a challenge for me, starting with my name, was spelled Kurai. My name is Courage, from Mutar Courage. So I have a challenge every time to say and to frame my speech. As a member of advisory board, I will start saying something from the helicopter, as I say, what has happened. Alan already presented a lot of questions we have had during the meetings in CONEXUS. I would like to point on one of the subject he also pointed about staff commitment. And I would link very much with the way project started. It started with a vision. And people came around and you work heavily for having a nice, beautiful proposals and so on. And you start moving, rolling out your dreams. And now we are here with so many outcomes and results from the first phase of the existence. However, it is a big difference between starting with a vision and having a vision co-created, or vision coming from people involvement and expressing the expectation and will of the persons, staff from the university, of the students. Now it's time to have such a kind of vision because you already are up and running. And I do believe soon the problem of staff commitment will be less high on the agenda because they will be part of the dream. We use this in foresight studies looking forward, and it's not about looking forward having a crystal ball. Of course, every time you have to balance between dreams and feasibility, ambitions and feasibility. But anyhow, I am convinced for the round you start, the second round of the project, the vision will be one, as we call, expressing self-fulfilling prophecy of the members of the universities as part of the CONEXUS. Second, I do really highly appreciate what has happened inside the project because it was something at the extreme conditions. Pandemic, not having the chance to be face-to-face. And if we look at the full half of the glass full glass, the speed of changes have been so high, and you have forced to deal with digitalization, virtual presence, working online, students, different kind of virtual mobilities, and all of them ask for innovation and experiments. For me, you have been really a living lab. So innovation is with you. Second, I try to move closer to the sustainability. You managed to deliver on almost all the 5 points of the strategic priorities of European education area set by Council. The project was built around the 5. It's not my job. The presentation were very nice and beautiful. I said this because if we jump to the education for sustainable development, all the 5 pillars are very much linked with the Berlin Communiqué on sustainable development education in 22. Actually, it was in 21. Also having embedded the UNESCO Education for Sustainable Development Roadmap issued in 2020. There are a lot of recommendations, but my intention is to point on one of them because I want to make the next step in talking about education for sustainability. And I will read it because it's quite complicated. The message is there, but I would prefer to go. It's enhance multi-sectorial and multidisciplinarity collaboration in education for sustainable development. At all level of governance, Minister of Education and the line ministers, working with the civil society, with citizens, with companies, for what? For something we call whole of government issue on sustainability. And whole of government is actually needed because implementing the sustainable development strategies, each of us, we have at the country level sustainable development strategy, we definitely need policy coherence But for having policy coherence, all the actors have to be empowered and to understand what means sustainability. And I will come now to almost to the end of my comment on the education for sustainable development. It's about sustainability literacy. I will explain what it means, but first I will say you are very well placed in this game because you already piloted micro credentials, small courses, also some other different courses you had. Is a minor, yes?
We had classes that included parts of sustainability to learn about it. Also, in some of the assignments we had the chance to collaborate with each other, with students from different universities, and see the different points of view from each country, how they tackle the subject.
Super. It is for students. Amazing, interesting, but also the role of universities to be connected with the society. And the role of these small pieces you already piloted are very useful in working with the civil servants, with people at the regional administration for what I named the sustainability literacy. Capability to understand the challenges around sustainability and to be active players in promoting and working on sustainability. So you are well prepared, and I do believe the next stage will be about skilling, yes, here, re-skilling, and the way you work on continuous learning with those that need to have knowledge, information, and skills, transversally skills around sustainability. I stop here.
Thank you. Till now, we have heard the point of view of professors, of those who are creating programs. We have heard the intentions of our program, but here we have our student, and Vasiliki, we would like to know from you, how was your experience? Are those goals that we had when we constructed and we proposed this minor program, are they achieved? And what I think would be also different for your colleagues that never followed a minor program, what were the differences between your, let's say, classical study programs and this minor EU-CONEXUS minor program?
So thank you for the question, and thank you for having the chance to be here. First, as a biotechnology student at the Agricultural University of Athens, personally, I had the chance to learn about sustainability. But as a minor student at EU-CONEXUS, it was a very unique experience because because of the pandemic, everything was online for my classes. And now with the blended mobility, a lot of people can go physically and do these courses or part of these courses in different universities. And this is a chance to see how different countries work and how they tackle the topic of sustainability, as I already mentioned. And also, it was a unique experience because not only we got the theoretical knowledge on the subject, but also with assignments and presentations we had to do. With other classes, we got to meet some industries that worked on these topics. And so it was not only the information, but the experience we gained that will help us for sure for the future to even find out more about what we are going to do next, like for our professional work, not only our academic career. And also it was a great experience just to get to work together and be in the position that not only we learn together, but also we have to get the skills to communicate and always have an open mind and be in the position to get to collaborate with each other. For example, for me, I had classes from 3 different universities, and including my university, and also we got to discuss how our countries are able to do these classes and see how different countries do the educational part. So that was interesting. So now we know that all the students are together and we are all in this together. So thank you.
One small question in addition. You did, let's say, what's called now virtual mobility, because you did an international class, but staying at Athens and not really meeting your peers. Was it, did you have an opportunity to establish relation with your colleagues? Was it very, very different from?
Yes, so thank you for the question. So in the beginning it was very difficult because it was new for everyone to do only classes online. Although we knew for the EU-CONEXUS most of the classes would be online. In the beginning it was difficult to connect, but and to get to know each other. But then with the assignments and studying together, it was easier. Also, with the student board, we got to meet each other physically later after the pandemic allowed us. But right now, as far as I know, most of the other students have the chance to travel abroad to do blended mobility. So I think this is even better because it was difficult for everyone. All of our classes, even from Athens, were online. But now we're glad we get to have a better experience and more whole experience.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Vasiliki. So we hear your experiences and how EU-CONEXUS minor program, innovative minor program, which has been thought to have blended and virtual even before pandemia has started, or we heard about the virus. So talking about innovation and referring to Adrian's thoughts on skilling, reskilling, and continuous pulsing of the labor market, what we could need. I would like to ask again, all of you, and especially Anna and Jan, how European universities initiative helped you to innovate. What did you do with your innovative programs and academic offers that you could not have done without European Universities Initiative? Joint Masters, academic exchange has been in our lives since 30 years, since Bologna process started, Erasmus Mundus joint master programs have started, joint Marie Curie PhD studies. So European Universities Initiative had to bring something new. So maybe you could give some examples how European University Initiative opened, I don't know, wider doors for innovation.
Thank you, Neringa. So, of course, the European Universities Initiative is the basis of everything we've done, but in many different respects. And it also, I like to separate depending on the level of the program. So, at the bachelor level, it's true that the innovation is more at the pedagogical level. So, we're not talking about real joint programs. It is an itinerary, we could say, that the students are complementing their official local programs. But in this way, of course, the budget, the opportunity to have people together to meet and to be able to develop this program has been very important. I cannot see, it would be quite difficult to develop something like this without the support, financial and structural support of the construction of a European university. However, when it comes to the master and the PhD level, the European universities, in my point of view, have been very, very important because when it comes to a joint program, you start to encounter many legal constraints that as a single university or even as a single consortium within all Europe, you are not able to address alone. There were some legislative changes that needed to be done, and this has come because of the support of this initiative, and also because of the association of the different alliances in different locally different European alliances have been, or universities involved in alliances have been meeting in Spain, France, etc., to discuss with the governments, and also the alliances. We have also been in touch in this subgroup for a European degree, monthly meeting and sharing all the limitations. So the legal change to really transform the European higher education space has been a consequence of the support from the European Union and of the support of the alliances themselves, in my opinion. And of course, something which is not so tangible, but of course the initial vision of Jean-Marc when this European University EU-CONEXUS was built. This was growing because of this new call, like let's build something together, and it would have been difficult to build something as big as we can think we have now without the structure of a European university.
Thank you. Jan, what are your experiences? What innovations that you could not thought European University, Charmy, you brought to your university's life and to the Alliance?
Yes, when we started this project, writing the project, we were thinking of what are we going to do if you have the possibility to organize, to develop a new university, because there is a big chance. So we use this chance to work on a new didactic concept, which is extremely difficult if you want to implement that within our home universities who last for hundreds of years. We know all that change is difficult. So where we started with was building something new from new didactic concepts and scientific knowledge on education. So that's where we started with. And on the other hand, building this new university in the European perspective with the different cultures we have in Europe, that's also a very interesting and additional point, because that's not what we can do within our home universities, within our home culture. So this is where we started with, and then we built these educational principles, the core values of charm, and we started up writing a proposal for a master program where all the didactics and these concepts are integrated. And our challenge-based transdisciplinary concept and master program is actually open for all students from all different disciplines, and we actually need them, because what we want to do is to work on authentic problems, complex problems in society. Therefore, we need to work together, students from different disciplines, and the development of our master program is developed by knowledge creating teams, teachers and researchers, also from a great variety of disciplines. And our master program consists of 3 semesters. The first semester is based on the modules social innovation, sustainability, and transdisciplinary research. And in the second semester, the students go into a more in-depth sustainability problem, where the students can choose 3 themes. One is water, one is food, and the third one is life and health. And then in the third semester, they come all together to work on problem spaces, complex problems from society, business, or the community. And they work in teams of 4 to 6 students together with external stakeholders, because the problem spaces come from the outside world. They are authentic situations and problems where the students, at this moment, the first group is working on those problems for half a year. And those teams are also multicultural, together with external stakeholders. And this is what we could not have done within our home university, because it's so extremely different from our regular education. And what we try to do is to learn from this. We see CharmU at university, where sorry, that was my Siri. Where we all try to work to learn from, and also transform our home universities based on the experience of CharmU. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian, you have instant response, comment?
Discussions are so heavy, very interesting. Yes, of course, so many type of innovation we may see around in the way programs are structured, delivered, students' achievements are evaluated. I am really impressed. But if I put my imagination at work, and linking in a way with open science and open educational resources, I am looking forward with interest, because there are a lot of expertise here and very nice, beautiful areas of having it on board. What means to have open educational resources using XR technologies? Just to imagine the coastal erosion or many other different kind of activity to be capable students and educators to go deep in and to touch and to move and to see how things are moving in not a virtual space, in a XR space, be capable to work with different pieces and to understand the dynamics not in real time, in a modeled way. But there are different kinds of innovation, and I like very much to say what has happened here, because the session is not for research, but anyhow, European education area, the very core roots of the first phase of the projects, but as presentations said very clear, projects tapped also in European education, in European research area, and the European higher education areas, at least from the point of view of doctoral education at the crossroad of the two, and also looking directly to the research and innovation, the new centers for research set up by the consortia. But I don't want to talk about this. I want to talk about something different, a kind of innovation brought in by the whole European university mechanism. And from my point of view, the challenge here is how is to diffuse and adopt innovation for those not being part of the game. There are 4,000 plus universities in Europe. Our dreams are to have 500-600 of universities in the already existing hubs, European universities, and some extra planned in the next planned for the next period of time. But there is so much innovation, and there are so many changes at the institutional level, at the program level, and there are so many unresolved challenges around this new type of institutions. And personally, I am really eager to see steps forward. And one of the main steps forward is how to adopt, I put in brackets, those not being part of the universities, to share the knowledge, to share the information, because nobody left behind is important for Europe as a whole. if we talk at the impact of the European universities at the broader offer of Europe and European universities for the well-being, for the society, for the well-being of people, and for the economy. So innovation here, I want to see how this institutional innovation is going to be adopted and diffused to different other players. So innovation all around. Thank you.
What's your point of view of students? Because mostly we are doing it for students, so I think that your opinion is very, very important.
Thank you very much. Yeah. So for students, I believe it's very important to see that both our professors and our universities care enough to make these amazing programs that we get to learn so many different topics and disciplinaries. Also, the European University EU-CONEXUS organizes a lot of events like sports events and cultural festivals, which are important also, because not only they promote the academic career, but our life in general, they make it better. And generally with the student board and collaborating with the administrative board, we are really excited that we get to see we have results and we can collaborate together and with their guidance. And so, yeah, I think for students, it's really nice to see that they're taking in consideration their points of view too, and they're creating exciting things for the future.
Thank you, Felice. So the pilot phase of European University is finishing, or more or less it's finished. We have gained some experiences. We had this period to explore, to see what would we like to do, what are the problems in realizing it, etc., etc. Now we are to start, both of our alliances to start the new part of European University project and challenges. Based on your experience in this first pilot call, and your achievements also, what could be the recommendations that we could in some way propose for the next phase? What could be the challenges that you already see that we have to face, and how maybe to solve them? So can we start with Anna again?
Thank you, Slaven. So with our experience and also with the new phase that we're starting now, EU-CONEXUS Plus, where a very important time of thinking about what we want to be in 4 years has been taking place in the last months. We can see, thinking about the challenges and how we can have overcome many of them, and what we could tell as recommendation for other alliances, or also for ourselves for this new phase.
Maybe some requests to EU,
yes,
to our governments,
yes,
to see what.
So if we think about the different levels of education, at the minors level, the one of the most important challenges has been coordination of the calendars, of timetables, to be able to make the classes available for the students. So in this sense, it is very important that institutions, within the alliances, they maintain their commitment to grow together, and sometimes even be generous to change some of their internal procedures or ways of organizing the teaching, so that we can go to a common, in this case, schedule calendar, and make it possible, because sometimes we think about very innovative programs, but the students have to be able to be there. So this is a very important. And another challenge at the minor level is to maintain the engagement of the students, to be able to attract them, and that they see the added value. It's very important, Vasiliki, when you were discussing about the being able to be with your classmates physically. So how blended mobility is really a difference. It's at the financial level, it's less sustainable than online teaching, but it's very important that we can try to find the finance or the resources, because this is a way of interacting that the students are really needing. Then when we go to the master's level and PhD level, as I said previously, we encountered very important legal limitations. So, and Vanessa de Vie-Santon was also discussing about the European accreditation for quality assurance procedure. And it's true that we've advanced very much in the last years, but I think that we need to do a step forward. And for example, for PhD level, the European accreditation procedures have to be adapted to make it possible. And also nationally, the European approach must be implemented in a more flexible way, in a more automatic way, so that we can, like the alliances that are really thinking about generate joint programs, do have a safe landscape to work with, because otherwise it's this idea of maybe we're going to embark in something that is not going to be transformed into finalized, because we're going to encounter this kind of legal problems. Beyond all this, we could say practical things that we've encountered and how can we overcome them. I think there's something very important, that's something we've experienced here in EU-CONEXUS, is what we need to, or what the Alliance need to be able to work together effectively. And we are talking about programs, and programs are just objectives that we set all together. But it is very important, not only as they say, the boat needs a place to go, we also need other things. So we need objectives, we need a common vision, a place to go. But I sometimes think about the alliances of European universities like being like a navy. So we need a place to go. We need leadership within the alliance. And each of the ships, which are the different institutions, they also need to be committed. We need to go to the same place. And it is important that within the institutions we have top-down initiatives to motivate and get people involved, and also to have space for bottom-up initiatives, so that we can really allow these spontaneous ideas to grow and to make the alliance even better. So. And lastly, what is very important, and it was also discussed at the initial part of the today, is about generating or having a common culture within the alliance, a common culture, a sense of belonging, and when it was discussed, and Wolfgang many times says it, is the CONEXUS family. So really that from the top to the bottom within the institutions, we feel that we are part of something, and then with the right resources and the right objectives and leadership, there's no problem to be able to reach these places. So thank you.
Jan, can you unmute your microphone? We don't hear you.
No, I did not hear you. Okay, sorry. Yes, you want my reflection, I think. Well, CharmU is aiming for the next phase, the next rollout, to broaden and deepening the current activities, optimize the master program to broaden our perspective of education, so also go into bachelor, PhD, micro-credentials and lifelong learning, working on profession development also within our home universities to get transformation of higher education done, to work on that. But expansion is, I think, an important part. What one of the previous speakers was also talking about. How can we get connection with other universities, other institutions in Europe who are not connected at this moment in these alliances? What we try to do is to work out some kind of a toolkit and make what we develop and what we achieve available for a larger group of universities so that they can use this. We also expand our current partners. So we have 3 new partners. So we started with Barcelona, Montpellier, Trinity College Dublin, ELTE in Budapest and Utrecht University. And now we expand with a Hochschule Ruhr-West in Germany, Würzburg University also in Germany, and EBE University in Finland. But in our next proposal, we also wrote down an infinity sign that we also want to get more universities on board. So expand even more than only with the 3 extra added universities in the coming 4 years. Because I think that it is important that we expand more and get more universities involved. On the other hand, what we also try to do, also with this forum you are organizing as EU-CONEXUS, we all of our alliances are working on conferences, symposia, forum, and we open up the discussion and broaden also the discussion also with other institutions in Europe or even outside Europe. There's also a possibility for others to get knowledge and experience from what we are working on. And I also would like to emphasize is that the collaboration of alliances at this moment in the subgroups for EU1 and for EU2, I think that's also extremely valuable for the collaboration and also for the transformation of higher education in Europe. Because in those subgroups, we work together on IT infrastructure and digitalization, for example, because we all experience the same hurdles and barriers, and we need to overcome, and we can overcome if we work together. And I'm extremely positive about the fact that Europe is not making the alliance to be a competitor from each other. No, they want us to work together. And this contribution and this collaboration, I think that bring us even further and accelerate the innovation and the transformation of higher education. Because now we are with between 300 and 500 universities, but it will expand. And it will also expand if all of our alliances give access to other institutions in the coming years. So I'm really positive about this, and this is also part of being inclusive, which is one of the main core values of our universities. Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Question to you. How do you see these plans for the next phase, for the next years and decades of EU-CONEXUS? Do you like it, in short?
Yes, of course. It's really exciting to follow this journey even when we graduate. And we are really happy students, and personally that we see that our recommendations are taken into consideration and they're acting. So yeah, it's really exciting.
Thank you. And Adrian, maybe you can have like the final conclusion.
It's not a conclusion. My message is please squeeze the lemon of the opportunities, because there are a lot. And already the slide presented a mix of possible funding pieces. I touch a few of them, 3 actually. First, of course, you already start using heavily the Erasmus Plus mobility schemes. Okay, this is already there. But look at something game-changing, what's happening in Europe. And I precisely talk about missions. If you look at the 5 missions, you are core playing in 3 of them, at least 3 of them. And my question here is, are you already part of the game? Because you have to be shoulder to shoulder with your regions, with your cities. Some of you are already, sorry for saying this, my colleague from Bucharest is shoulder to shoulder with one of the 100 cities selected at the European level for the climate neutral and smart to the 2030. Yes, but being shoulder to shoulder, being close to your regions and cities, it is a way of showing your value, your capabilities, also influencing them a lot, put science in favor of policies, make a reality, not only talking about, and also you may prove the special role universities are playing from the innovation ecosystem, for providing knowledge and skill, for helping communities to react to the big challenges around. And I want to see you shoulder to shoulder with your communities, your cities, your regions. And next point, it's be close to your colleagues, because you are covering the whole Europe, and widening. Okay, widening. It is something eligible for a number of countries and regions, fine, but they could apply with your help. And just imagine, you already part of different Horizon 2020 projects or Horizon Europe, and inviting your colleagues, hey, come for a hop-on mechanism and join the project we already have. Or we want to develop a certain capability, twinning or teaming. It's just the huge kind of opportunity, innovation, but also squeezing the lemon, sorry, of opportunities. I am confident you are to do a lot of amazing innovation and things. And I hope, at least for an initial period, I will be close to you as a member of advisory board, external advisory board. Thank you.
Thank you to our panelists. We have run our time. I think that we had very interesting and stimulating discussions. So I would like to thank Anna, Jan, Adrian, and Vasiliki for their participation. And that was all from us. Thank you.
So, just a little bit. Thank you, everybody, for this interesting roundtable. And now, guess what? It's time for Q&A. So, please don't be shy. And we are answering questions also from YouTube if we have. Amalia will help me. And in the room, if you have questions, just raise the hand, and I will come with the microphone to you, and we can have the questions and, of course, the answers. Okay, so who wants to break the ice? Okay, we have one here.
Thanks. Thank you for a very interesting discussion. When I read the topic, I thought that you are looking at 2 biggest issues that we as a race face. One of them is the climate crisis, and another one is a slow recession of democracy, because it states that, you know, education for sustainable development of democratic societies. And you've covered sustainability a lot. So my question is, what part does EU-CONEXUS activities relate to democratic competences and you know, the issues we face in that field?
Maybe just to start this, because what we've started with micro-credentials, short micro-credentials, and some spin-off projects. We are targeting civic engagement aspect a lot. And next week, we organize debaton of 7 universities in Valencia on civic engagement and students' engagement in the university's life. So this is one of the democratic values that we are promoting. But also with the democracies, I think that Vasiliki is one of those who has experienced the more in the alliance, we try to co-create, right? Everything, talking between the colleagues. Project managers with project managers, teachers with the teachers, rectors with rectors, students with students, but also teacher with the student, rector with the student. I think this is part of the democracy now. Any other updates on this?
I think, you're talking about transversal questions that were not namely put in our program. It would be more difficult to say, yes, we did this in our educational program, but it is part, in different things, it's part of all our educational programs. We also, if you are talking, well, I think that rising European values is also fostering democracy. And we have done a lot about that. We have worked a lot of multilingualism. We have worked a lot on culture and knowing each other, exchanging each other, because if you know somebody, you don't fear him. So that was one of the ideas, to mix our culture and to see that we are different, but we are very, very similar also in all our differences. So I think we have, on this part of democracy, we have done a lot, but it's a transversal, present in all our activities, in all our programs, more than in something step apart and said, okay, this is about democracy.
And from another alliance experience, just to benchmark and to get inspired.
Just very shortly, in our EU-CONEXUS Plus phase, it is expected in the multidisciplinary programs that we are aiming to develop both at the master and PhD level to precisely include the democratic values and civic engagement as part of the skills of what we need to solve the challenges that we are encountering as a society.
Jan, please. Yes.
Yes, with our program, we are working on transdisciplinarity. We have a very close relationship with external stakeholders, the civic society. In the third semester of our master program, we have large, complex problems where students work on, and that are real life problems. And that's the capstone challenges where students work on, also on matters of climate crisis, problems we experience in daily life, and students work with external stakeholders on those topics. And I think that all of our alliances, we all have in our programs the European values as part of the programs. And I think it was last week that Ursula von der Leyen gave a speech during the Forum of Democracy in Greece, and she was talking about the youth, and that the youth is extremely important in Europe. And that's actually where we are working on in these European alliances, where we bring together the youth of Europe together from different cultures. And what we hear back from our students is that they, within a couple of months, they build their own intercultural community. And they experience a lot from each other working in these intercultural teams. And I think that is very valuable also from the democratic process in Europe. Thank you.
The student presence at the all level of the CONEXUS governance, and I was really impressed yesterday when the president negotiated in a very natural way an extra position for them. I don't know, you miss their presence. So it's a very clear sign of democracy.
Yes, I can confirm that. As students, we always feel welcomed and listened to. And yeah, we're included everywhere. So that's the democratic values we continue to follow.
More questions? Maybe we can collect a couple of questions, especially if they would be similar, and to respond.
I don't have a question, but a comment, because actually I'm thinking quite a lot about our development and how we can sustain democracy within Europe, because we encounter a development where we have ongoing diversity, and we are taking care for minorities, and minorities have their freedoms and their rights, and we try to find a solution for all in a democratic way, and this becomes more and more difficult, and we see developments in some countries in Europe where we have the feeling democracy is in danger, and there are investigations about the opinion of people about democracy, and less people have confidence within democracy. But what is the solution? The solution actually is that was increasing mobility in the sense of Bologna, and with the aspect of interdisciplinarity and transdisciplinarity and internationality and fostering mobility, we listen to each other and we communicate, and listening to each other in the sense of science and research. And I'm full in the attitude that the most we can really educate is truthfulness, to be somehow self-critical, and to ask after every new insight, is it really true? Is it right? What is the opinion of others? So actually we try in our university life to educate truthfulness, listening to each other and taking into account the opinion and the freedom of others. And this is a high responsibility. So I think this is the best way actually to support democracy, even in a ongoing diversity in our society.
One more question.
Hello, thanks a lot for the inspiring talks. Is it working? No. Dragoș. Maybe I'm lucky to, yeah, this is working. It's working. So thanks for the inspiring talks during the roundtables. I have a question, especially for Adrian, because he's somehow outside. It's called external advisory board, so it's not internal advisory board, and also for Charmy EU representative. So far we delivered, and I'm very proud of this, minor courses. We started as a master and also PhD topics. But surely we will have to approach the micro-credentials as well. And for the micro-credentials, I have a very mixed feeling. For sure, they should be delivered. But on the other hand, we have to be very clever in deciding how to approach the micro-credentials, not to void our programs of the final targets. So the question is, how do you advise us, or how do you think that the micro-credentials issues shall be approached by the Alliance? Thanks.
Who starts? Jan, Adrian? Adrian.
Yeah, okay. For me, micro-credentials could be a game-changing mechanism. But we have to be smart in the way we plan for using them, in the way we use them, in the way we provide the quality assurance for the big jigsaws with small built by small pieces of micro-credentials. From my personal point of view, it's not about replacing the already existing programs, but they are very meaningful pieces in skilling and reskilling. And the vision I have is to have a platform with very clear ways in defining pieces, micro-credentials. Okay, it's not now, it's just and inputs, outputs, and process, and the capability to put different places provided by different source of knowledge and experience from many different public or private entities. That is why I am not for replacing existing program, but for complementing them. And the vision I have, be careful. I'm a grandpa, and I have pictures with jigsaw, and there are many different pictures from the same story. And be careful not to have the face, because the piece is okay, but not the picture. Not to have the face of the Sleeping Beauty with the legs of the horse. This is actually the challenge we have, and it takes time. The communique from the Commission on micro-credential was in a way challenging from my point of view, but anyhow, I think it's a future, a real future for micro-credentials.
I know that Charm.eu is also thinking about micro-credentials, so what would be your insights on this topic?
Yes, we put micro-credentials in the next phase of Charm.eu. So we will start working on that from January 2023. So we did not discuss it very broadly within our partnership of Charm.eu. But I can give you my personal opinion about micro-credentials and what we actually written down in the project, what need to be elaborated further on. But at this moment, we connect micro-credentials on professional development, lifelong learning, more than we put it on as an extra possibility for replacement of credits for bachelor or master courses. And the reason is that at this moment, we have all kind of teachers and researchers who are working with us in our program. They are very excited that the ones who are involved in Charm are mostly the innovators of our universities. For their sake and for their personal development, we would like to use micro-credential or edu badges, whatever you name it, because then they can use that for their professional development to show to others what they did, what they learned, how they progress in their knowledge about education. So that's actually the lifelong learning of our employees of our universities. On the other side, what we want to do is to get more involvement of external stakeholders. So if we have businesses or society organizations working together with us, and we want to have employees of that organizations working together with students in our education, then they might also work on their personal development. And we could use micro-credentials for that case, so that they work with us and that we don't have to pay them for their support, but we use the activities and we use the contribution of those external stakeholders for their personal development on the HR side of organizations. And then we could deliver micro-credentials also for them. And they also can use that for their personal development. So that's, I think, the approach at this moment. And I can imagine that also the collaboration of the alliances would be very well variable on the micro-credentials. so that we do not develop this in charm and that EU-CONEXUS develops something different. But if we develop this, that we should develop this in a collaborative way, because then we are developing a set of micro-credentials that make sense, and that everyone understands what we what micro-credentials are about, and that also from the content part, it's understandable, and also the value of the micro-credentials we deliver are more or less the same as what the other alliance is doing. So collaboration, I think, is very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you a lot. And as one of those persons participating in the collaboration with the European Universities Alliances, I can promise that we will collaborate with other alliances, but also we will talk with all of you to develop micro-credentials together. Next questions, yes.
Okay, let me stand up. Hi, everybody. I guess should we introduce ourselves, or it's not? Okay, I'm Christos Karavitis. I'm the dean of. I forgot my. That's a joke. Okay, dean of environment and agricultural engineering, Agricultural University of Athens. I was watching very carefully the whole thing. I hope. As the most of us is now here, I have to admit I was looking in my emails at the same time, but that's irrelevant. The majority did the same. Looking then to our round table, or should I say, as an engineer, I want to be exact, the semicircular table in front of us. We're doing this for our students, aren't we? Mostly, the whole thing. There are our students all over Europe. So, obviously, Vasiliki, I want to ask you. Vasiliki, the royal one in Greek. So, Vasiliki, would you please share with all the audience, not particularly us, professors, researchers, whatever, but the fellow students which are watching us lively through the net, through whatever means they're watching us. Name just 3 reasons. We don't want to tire the audience. Name me 3 reasons that you would like to share with us for making you being a minor in EU-CONEXUS.
Okay, so
that's all, folks. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Okay, so 3 questions for the future minor students. Yes, 3 reasons for the future minor students. First of all, you will acquire knowledge that you didn't even imagine, and you will see very different things, and you will see new science topics, and you will find something new for sure. Then you will get to travel and meet new people, so that's really exciting. And then the third one is that you will have to collaborate, and this will be helpful for the future. So first, you will get to see many things, then and learn, and then you will travel, and then you will gain knowledge and skills that will help you for the future. So it's see, travel, and gain skills.
So I think any more questions? Just a second. Okay, so no more questions. Okay, so thank you everybody for this roundtable, and thank you for answering all the questions. Thank you for the audience for putting the question. And now I think it smells like food, and it's time for lunch. And you should be back until 13:45. Whoever will be late has to bring goodies. So please be on time. And also don't forget to share and tag us on Instagram, EU-CONEXUS, in order for everybody to see that we are a beautiful family. So thank you.